I never did a sound check. I guess it's working. I had some festive Christmas lights for y'all, but like I said, once I started popping breakers and stuff, I was like, oh no. Oh, could you turn that light back on for me, Carson? That ring light? It's right on top of that table. Yeah, I'm putting him to work. There you go, buddy. Thanks. That was your intro. Hey, will you turn on that light, Carson? This thing's always backwards. Alrighty, welcome back, everybody, to the Turn Left Podcast, episode 90. Very special guest tonight, Dominion stock driver at Dominion Raceway in Fredericksburg or Thornburg, Virginia. He got his first win this past year, the number 46 driver, Carson Higgs. Welcome to the show, buddy. Thanks for coming out.
Thank you. It's nice to be here. It's my first podcast, and I'm trying to get my name out there and keep my legacy growing.
Yeah. No, one thing I appreciate is I reached out to you after you got your first win, or maybe you already gotten a second win too, right?
Yeah, I have 3 on the year. They were, after the first one, it was I won twins the next weekend.
Okay. Yeah, that's impressive. But I reached out to you, I think maybe even after the first one, and you said, yeah, I can't do it right now, blah, blah, blah. But then you reached back out to me and were like, hey, man, before I go to school, I want to come on the podcast. Yeah. Can we set up a time? That never happens. Usually I always reach out to people. They'll say, oh, man, I can't do it. And then that just goes to me for a lifetime. So I appreciate that. You hit me back up, and because nobody understands how much scheduling and booking is. I'm not trying to make the first 5 minutes about complaining. But so it's just nice when somebody's just like, hey, man, can I come on the show? Let's do next weekend. I'm like, all right, yeah, let's do it. Makes it easy for me. If you're a random person that I haven't reached out to, don't do that, because I can't just have anybody on the show. You got to be royalty like my man here, Carson. We also have his father, Frankie, and his sister, Morgan Higgs, both in the back. Say what's up.
Hey.
Hey, I was going to say, they're not very close to the mics, but they're back there, I promise. So, yeah, let's talk about it a little bit, because I didn't know you up until, Facebook and stuff, and even your Facebook, you don't get on that much, do you?
Mm-mm.
Yeah, so
I'm more of a Snapchat, Instagram person.
I'll add you on Snapchat. Mostly just my kids running around and stuff, but that's all right. But yeah, tell me a little bit about your introduction into racing. I guess you were a go-kart guy before driving real cars?
So obviously my dad has built and worked on and drove race cars pretty much his whole life too, growing up. And I guess you could say I was born with it, with a knack for racing. But I've never actually drove. I only ran one go-kart race. I was about 7, I believe. And it was I started building motors, which is what my dad primarily did. And the first go-kart motor I ever built, he helped me, but I did most of it on my own. And that person that drove it, the kid, he went on a cruise trip with his family. And so he asked if I wanted to drive it, and I said yeah. And I ended up winning that race, but it was like a small little backyard kind of track. It was only a couple other drivers
so it
there.
wasn't a field of 30, but still, That was your first ever race.
Yeah.
And you won it.
Yeah.
Well, that's pretty cool. How many people can say that? Did you win your first race, Frankie?
Not even close.
Yeah, no, me neither. I got lapped by my older brother. It was pretty embarrassing.
It was a pretty entertaining race, to say the least. I had my first spin out in that race, trying to pass a lap car.
Uh-oh.
And I also the flag stand was like a wooden little like tiki hut type thing that they had made off the side of the track. And during qualifying, I was giving it all she had and almost hit the flag stand.
Yeah. Well, you don't know how much it's got until you've gone too far.
Yeah.
You see Kyle Busch sometimes. Yeah, he wrecks in practice and stuff sometimes. It happens. Cameron said he likes seeing you win. It's really refreshing seeing you do well, which I agree. There's something about I did make a joke that you were, I think, 12 apparently on a podcast one time. I apologize, everybody. He is not 12. He has informed me he is 17, still very young grasshopper. But like I said, to be winning, we know that you're not like factory backed. You're not spending probably. You might be. I don't know. I haven't asked him where he works, but he could be the Zuckerberg of 17-year-olds. But compared to some of these guys, we got the likes of Dan Rogers and some heavy hitters, especially Dan Rogers. He's got a really nice piece.
Yeah.
So to see you run with him, and you said you already won 3 races. this year. I mean, that's incredible. I won a race and then didn't win for a long time. So what's that like to? For one, it is refreshing, and I think everybody enjoys seeing it. That's why it's always so well received. But what is it like to go from like, not struggling, but just not even really in the picture to like winning, and then now it's like that song they play, "All I Do Is Win,"
Well, yeah, it was definitely relieving because the beginning of the year, I mean, I was there. I was still running top 3, top 5 for the first half of the season, but there was just little knick-knack things. Like the first 2 weeks, we had a backup engine because I blew up the motor a week before the first race, actually in practice. And like the second race of the year, I actually started on the pole due to invert and probably could have won it because it was green flag the whole time. But the motor was just down a little horsepower, and Dan ended up catching me in the long run. But it was just working out little kinks all the way through the season until I think after the first win, it kind of gave me more confidence, like, okay, I can really do this.
Yeah. And
then we paid a lot more attention to the little details. Like there was one time I could have won where I started 4th outside second row and ended up taking the lead, passing all of them on the outside. And I felt a bad vibration, and the right rear lug nuts weren't tight.
Oh, no.
And it ended up cracking the wheel, and I decided to come off, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
But there was a pretty good chance I would have won that race. But it was really just working out all of our mistakes as a new team. I mean, we've all been around racing our whole lives, but
still working together as
and we're all really hard on each other.
Yeah. Well, that's the only way to win, in my opinion. Yeah, I mean, it's a good thing. You're lucky that you had the intel or that you could hear it rattling around and that you pulled off, because a lot of people wouldn't know until it's too late.
Yeah, after I took the lead, for some reason, I just love racing on the outside, which for streets, it's easier in higher divisions, I'd say, because more motor allows you to run around the outside better, whereas in street stocks and lower divisions, it's almost just one preferred line the whole time.
For sure.
But after passing around the outside and taking the lead, I definitely didn't want to pull off, but I had a bad feeling.
Yeah, and it could have been bad. I mean, it could have wadded up the whole car. Donnie Newman said he'd been watching you this past year, and he's excited to hopefully see you do continue to be successful next year. Donnie Newman's a legendary old Grand Stock driver, number 69 driver from back in the day. He's won championships at Southside and all kinds of stuff. Do you know Donnie Newman? Did you used to race, he said, growing up, or just in general? Where did you race at mostly?
Everywhere.
Really?
I raced all up and down the East Coast.
Wow.
Dirt cars and asphalt cars.
Really? Mostly like late model divisions or grand stocks or street stocks or whatever they would call them?
I started in street stocks and then went to what they called limited late models at the time, and then late models.
Perfect. Yeah, and actually I jumped around a little bit. So you did the one go-kart race, and then how did you end up here?
So, after the one go-kart race, I mean, because it wasn't my car.
Yeah.
And I've actually never even raced my own car, because the one that I drove the first year, my dad, he's a auto mechanic, and Barry Beebe, who also races.
Yeah.
He sold Matco tools, and they met at work because my dad needed to buy a seal pick off his truck. That's like the ongoing joke.
Mm-hmm.
And ended up being like the only way that I've been able to get into racing, because like you said, I definitely know Mark Zuckerberg. I don't have the monetary funding as like,
it's not a cheap sport.
Yeah, for sure.
But with the help of them, you're able to. But so you just had the one go-kart race, and then you got into a grand stock and started driving.
Yeah, it was, I don't know. I guess like I said, it was kind of, I was born with a knack for racing, I guess, because they let me practice it during the off season. I guess it would have been 3 years ago now, the off season before my first season racing, and I got in the car, and just within a practice session or two, when we rented out the track, I was able to get up to almost race pace.
Yeah.
There was only, other than DNFs this year from like part failures, my first race I got lapped one time, and I think the second race I got lapped. But other than that, I've been pretty much on the leader's pace-ish.
The most time, yeah. I agree. Like I said, I've only been to Dominion a few times this past year, but I know that one of them you won a race, and I know I always see Morgan in the pictures. What role do you play? You're in the pits all the time, and
I'm just in the pits most of the time. I help build the motor and just work on the car all around. I do his tires and just everything that needs to be done there.
are you his younger or older sister?
Younger.
So she's 10. By my previous recollection, yeah. All right, so had you been to Southside Speedway? I know that we talked earlier about Southside Speedway a little bit. I know that you said that you had been, Freddie, back in the day. Frankie, sorry. What have you ever been to Southside Speedway?
I've been. I'm sure I went in the pits with my dad as a kid before I really remember, but the only recent times I remember, there was a late model driver that my dad used to help out, Tyler Daniels, that also raced there.
Yeah.
And I went with him a couple times. We were good friends for a little while, but we were just there to watch. I never, from my recollection, I never helped anyone there, like on their team, but I have seen the track.
Yeah, and watched racing there and stuff like that. And you raced there.
I raced there years ago, yes.
Any wins?
Early 90s.
Did you like it, or you compared to other tracks? I mean, I guess, have you always lived around here?
Yes.
Somewhat?
So most of my racing in the asphalt was up at Old Dominion in Manassas.
Yeah. Yeah, I've raced there once back in the day. Rough track. Real rough. Wooden bleachers. Literally. Wooden bleachers. It was crazy, dude. Like, I never actually went up in the bleachers, but, like, back then I was probably about your age. And a girlfriend at the time, my mom would come, but, yeah, I mean, they were halfway afraid to be sitting up in the bleachers. I mean, it was like, that's, like, the first thing to go when they close that track down. They're like, condemn these bleachers, dude. Yeah. Looked like Christopher Columbus' boat built these things. What's up, Chris Harper? Thank you, Howard Emery, for liking the video, too. Everybody like and share if you can. We talked earlier, too, me and Frankie were talking about it, how just all of a sudden it seemed like one day, it clicked. You were fast when you got into racing a car for the first time and practice and stuff anyway, but there's a big difference between being race pace and then being somebody that can actually beat some of these guys. So we were talking about how it just kind of clicked one day. Do you remember when that was or what that was that made that happen, or was it just all of a sudden?
It was pretty kind of all of a sudden. I would say definitely after my first race was a pretty big. After my first win, I should say, was a pretty big moment. This wasn't really like the moment that made it click, but actually my first race, my sister was sick, and my dad always works on, he works every other Saturday, but it just seemed to happen that this year, every single Saturday that we raced, he had work that day. So he would show up to the track late, and me and my sister did 95% of it by ourselves until about qualifying he could show up. But the day of my first race, it was the biggest race I've ever ran. It was the 50-lapper, and my sister was actually sick, and she couldn't come to the track. And I did like 75% of it by myself, and a couple other racers at the track helped me out that day.
Well, that's cool.
But it really made me appreciate, even we're just a little 3-man team with a bunch of other little help from other people. But
just how much work it is.
Yeah, it was a lot by myself.
So do you tow it there yourself and everything?
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. I think I was talking to Mason Bailey about this, which I don't know if he tows his own car, but back in the day when he was racing his modified, he was super young, and you'd always see him in the pits working on his own car. Similar stuff, you know what I mean? Like, anytime I see, a kid driving his own car to the track and doing his own thing and not just his dad doing it for him and he's hopping in the seat, I respect it so much more. Because, like, if your dad had to work or if your dad or she was sick, you know what I mean? You could literally go and do it on your own. It would be tough. We know that, but you could do it on your own. And anybody that's done it literally on their own like that appreciates it way more. And the fans, they don't see any of this. You know what I mean? So you could win or not. The guy that's usually winning is the guy that doesn't have to do any of this stuff. You know what I mean? So I don't know. It's maybe that's one of those things that Cameron's talking about. It's just that much more refreshing seeing somebody like you that does it, because you're a young kid, which would usually mean daddy's money. I don't do anything. I just literally look at the car. I'm Pretty Boy Carson. I get in there, make sure my fire suit's clean this weekend, Mom. All that kind of stuff. But for you, you're actually having to tow it to the track, unload it, work on it, change the tires, all that kind of stuff.
I think, like you said, the fans don't ever see any part of that. But I think that is one reason that I was able to get in the car and almost immediately get up to a good pace and learn everything quickly is from working on race cars in our garage pretty much my whole life. I think it really helps to be able to know like what changes affect your own car and how everything is supposed to handle and what you want to change.
The basic engineering of the sport, at least.
Obviously my first season, there was still a whole bunch of like setup stuff that, obviously a new driver, I couldn't tell you. I knew loose and tight, but there's all sorts of different things
ways
you can change. And
yeah, I know what you mean. What to do to actually fix it the right way. What's up, George Dixon? Somebody said that you're a mailbox killer too. What happened with that? You thought we were gonna breeze over that, huh? With a baseball bat? What happened here?
No, it was a jack.
You're still young enough to get grounded, so.
No, it was a jack handle. I'm not sure who ratted me out. There was only 4 people that saw it.
That was Derek Hoke that ratted you out. Derek Hoke.
He just commented in for one,
yeah.
so I don't know if it was still not public, but he just ratted you out now if it wasn't public.
Derek and Christina and a couple other people have said hi to you throughout this, and Christina wants to talk about your Lucky Charms.
Tell me about your Lucky Charms.
I'll bring it up in just a second, but the mailbox thing, I didn't know who had said it, because there was one time we were towing a race car to the trailer on an open trailer, or a race car to the track on an open trailer, and the jack handle was the jack actually like rolled around on the front of the trailer, and the handle like stuck out the side of the trailer, and it blasted a mailbox just like a baseball bat would. But
we were in
a racer's baseball bat is pretty much what it was.
A jack handle.
We were in a truck falling behind him, and all you see is the handle come out. And we call him and we tell him, you're about to take out someone's mailbox. And he keeps going down the road, and then all of a sudden there's just a dent in the side of a mailbox and a couple pieces of mail out in the road. We got to stop and pick up.
Felony. Just kidding.
But yeah, okay, Derek's mailbox, I was helping his wife Amanda. She drives a U-car, and I was towing her car to the track one day, and I don't know if you know like where they live, but their driveway and the road they live on is like a really tight space, and I basically swung as wide as I could, but someone had already hit their mailbox before me, and there was a bunch of shrapnel, and the mailbox was kind of laying sideways in like where it was supposed to be, and I just barely clipped it and cut a trailer tire down.
Oh man, so you cost the trailer tire too?
Yeah.
Carson.
And it was our trailer tire, not even theirs.
Oh, even worse. Dude. All right, so what about these Lucky Charms?
Oh yeah.
You got to eat them one race day or something?
No, it's just an ongoing joke with Christina that because I have red hair and I'm short, like you said, I'm assuming that's why you guessed I was 12. I look like I'm 12.
You're that short.
No,
I just saw dude, I went on your Facebook and I went to your second to last profile picture, and it was like you as a 9-year-old. I'm like, I didn't look at the date, but I'm like, geez, this guy's really young, dude. Like his last profile pic was like him in middle school.
Yeah, but Christina called me a leprechaun, and then the Lucky Charms cereal, their mascot is a little leprechaun, and so
your hair's not even that red though, at all.
Yeah, I think it like during the summer it's more red in the sun. I think. Yeah. But
soft
she got
jab
me
at my bad lighting in here, but either way, no. Keep
she
going.
got a little like to go little Lucky Charms container thing.
Yeah.
And I actually I duct taped it into my race car as like almost like one of those, like if you play like a sport, you like don't wash your socks or something, like superstition.
As a superstition.
Yeah, so it was almost like I still have the bowl of Lucky Charms. I never ate them or anything. I probably wouldn't eat them now. They're probably pretty nasty.
They've been through some heat cycles.
Yeah. But I saved the bowl, and I still have them in my house with the some of the other like souvenirs that I have.
All that exhaust and stuff. There's smoked Lucky Charms now. Yeah, I've got the same type of thing. I've got like certain shirts. I used to back in the day, like, and I hadn't even won a race yet, so I don't even know if I was what I was basing this off of. But I had to get like a certain type of Fritos and a certain type of Mountain Dew. I think I got like second one night, and I ate that right before. I'm like, all right, that's what I got to do if I want to apparently keep on finishing second. Like I said, I don't know what the thought process was, but it was just my best finish so far.
Well, your best friend Zach is very upset that you did not give him credit for the Leprechaun and Lucky Charms that he started at the track. You
Zach
gave the credit
Roth?
to Rutherford.
Rutherford, sorry.
Yeah, I play football with him. He's my age, but he gives me.
But you don't
crap
break
about
your
being
leg
a
in half like Air
leprechaun.
Doug, do you?
No.
Did you see
No,
that?
that's actually why I stopped playing football. I don't know if it was as bad as his. Mine was I tore like some ligaments in my leg. But yeah, I saw the video of Doug when he was playing football. I think
Kneecap dislocated or
yeah,
something?
I died laughing because I mean he's a funny guy. He makes jokes about himself all the time.
Yeah.
And the ambulance was backing onto the field to like pick him up, and it was a tight space, so the ambulance was going real slow. And he said, "Look, they're driving as fast as I was when I qualified in Martinsville."
Oh yeah, because he qualified real badly at Martinsville. That was pretty good. That was a good joke. I did laugh out loud when I heard that. What's up? Oh, Christina, we already gave her a shout out. He started it. I just kept it going. Okay. All right. So Zach Roth or Rutherford. It's rough on there. I can't see it that well, guys. Sorry. I guess he's the claim to fame for. What is your favorite? Were you a big NASCAR fan before you got into the seat, or did you become one once you started racing? Or
I've watched NASCAR. I wouldn't say I'm a huge fan, but I've watched all kinds of racing growing up. But my favorite driver growing up was definitely Tony Stewart. And I think one cool thing actually is at the end of Cup seasons, they have little auctions where you can buy like old Cup parts and stuff. And my dad actually bought one of Tony Stewart's seats from one of his cars when he was a lot smaller in his younger years. And that's actually
Tony Stewart.
That's actually the seat that was in my car. The Home Depot sticker is still on the side of it.
So you race with it. You use it for your seat.
The only thing that was like the smallest seat we could possibly find, and we still
when
had
was
to
this
take
a seat from when Tony Stewart was 15? You said it was Tony Stewart's
like his
seat?
rookie year or like.
It was one of the Home Depot seats.
Yeah, but he said it was the
at
smallest
Joe Gibbs.
seat. The smallest seat he could find. Like
That's the smallest one that was in the shop. Yeah.
that's crazy. I didn't think Tony Stewart was ever that small.
But we actually the hip part and everything fits fine. It was just the rib part. We actually took a ratchet strap and like pulled it in to make it a little tighter.
Okay,
But-
so it was too big. Okay, yeah, okay. I
just
figured that
the,
as much. I'm
rib
like,
part,
no
yeah.
way that it was too
Everything-
small.
Everything except the rib cage part didn't fit. And we
Yeah,
had
yeah.
to strap that in.
Yeah, Tony Stewart shaped like a upside down pear. All right, so he was you were a Tony Stewart fan growing up, but like, what would you call yourself now? Do you keep up with it at all?
Yeah, I'm a Ryan Blaney fan right now. Actually, surprisingly, I didn't watch him a lot in like I know he was pretty good in the Truck Series,
Yeah.
and
Pull up a bunch of pictures, maybe.
Of what?
Derek Hoke said, "Whose fire suit does Carson wear?" And it was a starting thing of Carson always wore his own fire suit, but it was really long at the end, and I was in the process of hemming it up. But we realized that my dad's old fire suit from when my dad started driving actually fit Carson pretty perfectly. And the first race Carson wore that was the first race Carson won, and then he won the two after that in the same suit. So
Yeah,
that
I'm gonna
became
give my
his.
suit back now.
I wore it as a joke because it might have been my dad that said that, like he made a joke and said that I wouldn't do it, and I was like, I don't care, yeah. And people were like, he was like making a joke. He was like, you don't. It's because it was made. Probably like what in the 90s, probably.
Yeah,
That they won't pass it.
90 or 91,
Yeah.
yeah.
But
I'll
it's
ask
still
for forgiveness before I ask for
but it still has like what's the oil sponsor?
Kendall.
Yeah, it has Kendall oil on it, which I don't even think they're still running.
I've
anymore.
never heard of them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All right.
I think they still make Kendall.
That was another
oil.
question I have for you. When did you finally hang up the suit, so to speak?
Right before they was born.
Really?
Yep.
So it's been a
Made a
while.
shift
You said
and-
I can't get my suit back. You act like you're about to make a
He definitely
I
wouldn't
won't
fit
never
in
make
this
it in
one
that
anymore.
So
Show the picture of you two.
yeah.
That's one of the posts from a photographer at Saluda when those two were little.
Oh wow.
That was him and I.
That's cool. Yeah, I've got pictures like that of me at Southside and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And me and my brothers and everything. All my dad and his brothers raced. So it was like cousins and stuff like that on both of our sides. And yeah, it's cool. That was a question I had meant to actually put on here, but we talked about it beforehand, so now I know. And obviously, whether you were a secondhand driver or whether you just, some people just are like, I want to drive a race car, and they just start doing it. I never know how that works, but obviously my dad raced too, so I just was, grew up knowing it the whole time.
Yeah.
But still, like, I'm surprised. Have you ever raced a U-car or anything like that?
Mm-mm. It was just one go-kart race, which was just completely out of the blue, and then straight to street stocks. Honestly, it was just, I would say that that like my dad and everyone had a lot of confidence in me to be able to make a step that big as just starting. But it was honestly just the right time that I was able to get in a car for a good deal, obviously.
Yeah, a
And,
good opportunity.
Yeah.
And you've made the best of it, that's for sure. What, like, there was no, you raced the one go-kart race and you won. I'm surprised there wasn't a little bit of wind in y'all's sails, like, all right, we got to find a go-kart now and take this stuff over. 'Cause it could be lucrative, too, winning go-kart races, dude. They make more money than we do sometimes.
If you look at the
We as in
cost of
y'all.
what it costs to run a go-kart, you can run a street stock car.
Really? See, I've never done go-karts at all, so I have no idea what really it all entails.
It's not much different cost-wise than what it is to run the street
It's a
stock.
smaller trailer, though, Frank. You can fit two of them in a little utility trailer. You can tow it with like a little SUV and not like a full-size truck. But no, I don't know what it costs or what the benefits are versus the. But you were building motors for a long time for go-karts, weren't you?
I've built motors for race cars,
Okay.
for street stocks, dirt modifieds, dirt late models,
Huh. But go-karts
asphalt
too?
late models, huh?
But go-karts too? Or no?
I didn't mess much with go-karts. When the kids come along and they wanted to do it, some of the drivers that we built motors for had kids that raced go-karts. And they were like, hey, would you do this? I'm like, I don't really want to, but give it to them. Let them do it.
Yeah. Okay, I see what you're saying. Because I remember you saying you built that one go-kart motor, when you were doing it at the beginning.
They built the motor that's in that car. The only
Oh,
thing
really?
that they didn't do was board. I didn't want them picking up the board bar while I wasn't at home by themselves. They did all the rest of it themselves.
You put it together?
Yeah.
They
It
built
actually,
the rear, the trans.
Are you still in high school?
yeah, this is my senior year.
Were you going to college?
That's what I have applied. I got accepted into UNOH, which is the racing college in Ohio, where our buddy Owen Smith, who races at Dominion, he's in ARCA this year.
Sounds familiar.
He went there, but I've been accepted there, but I haven't really committed yet. I don't know exactly what I want to do, but that's definitely a number one option probably right now.
Yeah. Ohio, huh?
Yeah.
I wonder what that's like. Have you ever lived anywhere else other than around here?
No, just Virginia.
Yeah. What about you? Have you ever lived anywhere else?
I come from Southern Maryland.
Okay.
Little town, Leonard Town.
Yeah, but that's just Northern Virginia, if you ask me.
Yeah.
They could
It's
just
an hour and
add
a
that
half.
on, that shitty little state. Sorry for the profanity. I don't know if we have any grandmas or anything watching. I'm sure Morgan doesn't care, even though she is, what did we say, 10?
She cusses more than all of us probably.
Okay. All right.
Oh, okay.
Not on air, though. All right, so you talked about your first win. What are those emotions like? Like, you said it was relieving, but, like,
Yeah.
were you crying like a little baby? Or
No.
I did, I think, a little bit until I got out, and then I was just, like, shaking. And
I don't know if my dad would ever let me hear the end of it if I was crying. He said that
were you crying?
he almost shed a tear. He thought about it.
And honestly,
He said no quick, too. He's like, no, I was not. I almost did, but heck no.
we all pushed so hard and worked so hard to get to that point. When he finally got there, and the last 10 laps, we're looking at everything. He's leading everybody by 3-4 car lengths. Car's nice and smooth, and we're like, okay, what's going to break? distributor's going to go bad. This is what's going to something's got to happen.
It's like Dale Earnhardt Daytona 500 type stuff now at this point.
When he finally finished and when he closed the deal, and we were all standing down in the victory circle looking at each other like, really? Wow. Nothing
Couldn't
happened?
believe it. Yeah. I know.
Yeah,
It took a little while for it to sink in.
Yeah, it definitely, the night of the race, I mean, it was relieving, and I guess I was really like in the moment, but like he said, it was probably the next morning and that I really realized, like, okay, we did that, like we can build off of this kind of thing. But I guess I was just so like in the moment, and like he said, we'd had so many problems in the beginning of the year, just little tiny stuff, like our distributor messed up when I was passing for the lead one time and ended our night, and then we've had all
Cracked
sorts of
ram
stuff.
And
yeah.
Endless. Yeah, it seems like that sometimes. It's like never wants to give you a break. What's up, Dylan? How'd you end up with the Mopar? Are you the only guy running a Mopar?
Yeah, as far as I know,
Body.
I haven't seen any other ones. There's no one else at Dominion. There's actually one guy runs I think it's an Oldsmobile body.
Mm-hmm.
It's an older guy, just there mostly for fun, but he has a really nice looking car. He keeps it pristine, but I just like it's unique and it's different.
What division is that he's in?
He's a street stock.
Is he?
Yeah. If I had to pick, we're a Chevy family just because building engines, there's no engine builder will tell you of short track racing to do anything other than a small block 350. Obviously.
It's the standard, yeah.
Yeah. And so we're probably a Chevy family. If I had to choose the body, it would have probably been the new Camaro body that I think Dan has. But the car came with it, and it was unique. We liked it. But like I said before we started the podcast, the only thing we didn't like about it was, which we didn't find out later in the year, is that actually, I guess it was because of the shape of the nose. We had a lot of overheating problems, and me being an engine builder for the first, this was like the first one that me and my sister put together. I kept thinking it was something I did wrong the whole time, and then it wasn't until the very end of the year that we opened up the nose more and figured out that I actually didn't do anything wrong. It was just the
Just
body.
hot.
Yeah,
Couldn't get in the air.
we did a whole bunch of stuff to try to fix it, but it took forever to finally get we didn't want to open up the nose anymore and change the aerodynamics of the car.
Yeah, I guess at that track it does make, how much
Yeah.
downforce and stuff
Yeah.
it's got. It makes a big difference. That's all crazy stuff I never had to get used to. But yeah, like, and you'd rather have this body. Looks don't win races.
Yeah.
And, that's obvious. And, you've outran some of these guys with better looking car. I'm not familiar with the Olds car. I'd have to see a picture of it. It's not the Terry Sprouse car, the number 89, is it?
No, it's all red number 45. I'm not sure the driver's name. I know it's an older gentleman, really nice, but he comes to the track all on his own. He doesn't. People have went over and offered him help when he's working on something. He doesn't want anybody to help him.
I know his name. I just can't remember it right now. Just kidding. Okay, so yeah, like. You just ended up at the Mopar body, though.
Mm-hmm.
The
Yeah,
Dodge.
it's what came with the car.
Yeah. But you would have chose Chevrolet, even if it wasn't
Yeah.
Camaro, just that would have been the route you go with. Because
Most
obviously it's got a Chevrolet motor in it.
Yeah.
Shout out to, I forgot to mention at the beginning, shout out to my sponsors. What's up, Dave Luck? TKG Construction. I just talked about on the last podcast, they came and did my porch. My buddy got another company to do his porch. And it just crumbled and he fell and died. So, call TKG Construction and not any other company because you wouldn't want to be like Gary, my buddy that passed because his porch fell down on him. That didn't actually happen, by the way, but still, don't call a bad porch guy. He does everything though too. It's a construction company, so he does pretty much anything. What's up, Dave? Oh, I already said Dave. Zach, I guess the other one I'm seeing, but that's the Zach Rutherford that I think. Is it better to winning race or football championship? Have you won a football championship?
Yeah. I played football for 9 years growing up, before the leg injury I was telling you about.
Mm-hmm.
But I actually, the year that I started playing was the second year that our football league had ever started, and we weren't very good in the very beginning. But I would say about like my third year of playing, we won our first championship, and we won like 4 in a row, I think. But then we had to move up divisions because they told us we couldn't be in that division anymore,
Yeah.
and then we got our butts kicked again, and then had to. Right about the time I stopped playing, we were starting to catch on to the bigger division, and we were there where we were kind of winning some games. We weren't like the best teams in the division anymore, but I mean,
We're getting there.
Yeah.
You're building up speed, but then you got out of it 'cause of leg injury.
yeah.
Here's one that might be for everybody, Frankie and Morgan. Who is your favorite? You said pretty much right now your favorite is Ryan Blaney,
Mhm.
pretty much. Who's your local favorites of each division, starting in with Bandolero?
Honestly, I don't know a lot of Bandolero drivers right now. At Dominion, I'd have to say Addison Schumann, just because I know her family, and like Blaine and Jamie and all them, and Jamie's friends with Amanda, who I don't have to say is my favorite U-car driver because I've helped build her car a little bit this year.
Okay.
For
Well, what about y'all with Bandoleros? Addison, same.
Yeah,
Same,
I would say Addison for the Bandoleros. For I can't remember if it's mini cups or mini stocks. One time I was doing
was curious
something
about
in
that
the tire shed. A gentleman, John Hager, I don't know how you pronounce it.
Mm-hmm.
He helped me out there, and he would probably be my favorite for that one.
Yeah, I know that name.
Amanda with the U car as well.
Okay, same with you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what about? I guess the next division up would be Dominion stock. You can't pick
Yeah.
yourself.
I'd probably have to say Dan Rogers, just because when he first came to Dominion from Southside, there was a lot of bad looks at him. I didn't know really anything about him because, like I said, I'd only been to Southside a couple of times as a kid. Had never really heard of him that much. And there was a lot of people talking bad about him, and I just figured if you talk bad about someone like that, they're probably like dirty racer or something. But really, in reality, I found out that they talked bad about him because nobody could beat him pretty much.
Yeah, that
And
tends to be a trend.
I would say he's probably my favorite because I just learned so much from him, and obviously he has a lot more experience than me, but he helped me really get started and like get my feet in the water. And once I got fast enough that him and Richard Powers were racing really close together for really like 2/3 of this past season, and none of us had any. I mean, there was a lot of
Hard
chaos, drama in our division, about 4th through 8th, and a lot of totaled cars. But me, Richard, and Dan really didn't crash at all, and yeah, we had a lot of hard racing.
But no bad.
Yeah.
Nice. What about y'all?
Dan would definitely be my favorite for the Dominion Stocks class. I mean, I've talked to him, his crew, a lot throughout the time, and while everyone else, and there were a lot of rumors and speculations about him, he was an all-around good guy, and every time Carson raced against him, I mean, I was always nervous for him to be next to someone, but I knew that Dan would never hit him on purpose, and there was
Yeah.
nothing to really worry about there.
Okay. Same with you.
It's a pretty tight knit group. I mean, we got along with everybody that was in that class really well. Everybody helps everybody. I mean, Tommy helped us. We helped Tommy, Gary, everybody.
Tommy, yeah.
Everybody.
He's the 69 guy there, isn't he?
Yeah, got along really well. They really did.
I roasted him one day on Facebook. I felt bad, but it was when he had that Camaro nose on that Buick.
Yeah.
I just couldn't let it happen.
Oh, yeah.
We
remember that.
we wouldn't let him get it back after he
Good.
he messed it up
You were
and
doing the Lord's work here.
he messed it up in practice, and I think I'm pretty sure he ended back with a Monte Carlo nose on it.
Mhm. Yeah,
But
something.
when he messed up the car bad enough in practice, we just took a chop saw and cut it off and threw it away at the track, and he never got to take it home.
Okay, cool.
But yeah, Tommy was a big help to us.
He's
He'll
a super
help
nice
you do
guy.
anything. He has a whole bunch of spare parts and stuff saved up from over the years, and if there was a couple times we were in a mad dash like Friday night before a race and we've just figured out something was wrong, and he'll give you anything.
Yeah. He'll give you the hair off his back, even though you wouldn't want that. But, all right, so I guess that wraps up Dominion stock. What would be next after that? I guess I'll go. Oh, we forgot IndyCar. Do y'all know any IndyCar people?
I would say I didn't know a lot before this season. It's a hard pick between Cameron Hensley, who I just met. He helps Mike Gano. I think he's
Cameron Hensley.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know.
That's what he's talking about.
I think he's dating or like
Engaged.
Yeah, he's engaged to Mike Gano's daughter, I believe.
So you know Mike Gano?
Yeah, my dad knows him a lot. They race together.
Yeah, I raced with Mike Gano, unfortunately for me, for a long time. So yeah, I know Mike Gano well.
But yeah, it's a tight, close decision between Cameron and who we just met, and Troy Curtis, who works at Dominion. He drove the number 13. What is that car? The old cop car.
Yeah, Crown Vic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he's always.
What about Mike Canary Sr.? Gotta show him some love. I guess he's more of a Langley guy.
Yeah, I don't know him that much.
Yeah, he's more of a Langley guy, I feel like.
Troy has always been really nice to me because he does he sends everybody out for qualifying, and he always, I would say he's believed in me since the beginning. Always like try to keep me boosted up during race day. Like something goes bad in practice or whatever, he'll always try to help me.
What about
He's the official that's up on top of the tower, probably the one that yelled at you about the cigarette.
Oh yeah, probably is. He was a cool guy. He wasn't mad about it. But yeah, he was like, "No smoking up here." He's like, "Rubber roof." I'm like, "What?" I'm like, "What is that?" Just tell me there's not smoking allowed. Don't tell me about the rubber roof. That rubber roof would be all right. Okay, yeah, I do. I don't know who you're talking about. All right, so I guess what it would be. I guess modifieds would be next.
Yeah.
Late model I consider to be the Crown
Yeah.
Jewel. Well, no, I guess technically the Virginia Racers is what they
Yeah.
call them.
Mm-hmm.
Or is it
There's
Dominion
Virginia
Racers?
Racers or Dominion Racers, and then there's late models.
Yeah. So the Dominion Racers, who would be your favorite?
I probably.
Don't mess it up, because I mean, if there's a Dominion racing out there right now that might sleep better tonight if Carson, if you're his favorite.
Of just
he's your favorite.
Just the cars that run Dominion, probably Mike Gano, just because we've known him for a long time. I don't really know like Ryan Matthews. We know Cameron Burke a little bit.
How far away are y'all from Louisa?
Like
Excuse me?
30 minutes.
I was saying, how far away are y'all from Louisa, where Mike Gano lives? I don't know if y'all knew him like
30
y'all.
minutes,
Yeah, so not far.
Yeah.
Same with y'all, Mike Gano on that. Do you know Mike Gano too?
Yeah, I'd have to say Mike Gano.
Yeah, he's legit. He's a super nice guy too. My dad literally just went out there a couple weeks ago to get his rear end rebuilt for some Camaro he's got or something. You know, he knows old Camaros and stuff really good.
Mm-hmm.
That's what he used to take us to school with back in the day in Southside.
Yep.
All right, so modified then.
I don't know a lot of the modified drivers. I know Kayla Searles recently because Owen Smith, like I was talking about earlier.
Yeah.
They live close to each other, I would think, and I met her recently, and she's teammates with Brian Maxey, who's raced on dirt against my dad since I was born.
Really?
Well, against the cars my dad built since I was born.
Yeah.
So we know them really well, but I don't know the Humlets at all, but I think it's pretty cool watching the dad and son.
Yeah, for
race.
sure. Same with y'all?
Both of the Humlets are good people. I do know someone that we used to help. Warren Lipford raced up there 1 or 2 times this year, and we've known him for a while, so he would probably be up there.
Done some motor work for him. Warren's a good guy.
Is that still what you do? Do you still build race cars and
We
stuff?
still build some at home, yes.
But do you do it for a living?
I work on cars. I'm still a mechanic.
Yeah. Okay. But you've been around the block as far as, because I was wondering. One question was gonna be like, so who's setting up your cars? Like who's?
Yeah.
Because I mean, Dan's got Forrest Urban Jr., Bubba Urban.
I made them do it. I made them
But
build
that's
their
insane,
own motors. I made them
Frankie.
build their own rear. They've changed their
So-
own springs. They set their ride heights. They did caster camber. I made them do it.
It's actually a thing from my dad that I kind of take just after him now. But growing up, when he first started building cars, when he was my age, he built his first car all by himself. And that's what I want to do. Just from you get the frame and you put everything on it yourself. But my dad, I don't know if it was his first car or when he started running good, he sent his car. He knew how to do almost everything on his own except for he wasn't a good welder yet, I believe. And he sent his car off to a race car shop to get just fabricated a little better so that he could keep
Support
the car.
bars and stuff.
And and he had just started winning, I think, with that car. And when he sent it off, he came back to pick up the car or to check on it. And he walked into the guy's shop with people taking notes on where his bar angles were and everything.
Oh.
And so ever since that day, none of his cars that he's built have ever left the garage. And it's just the same with ours. He has all the equipment you need to do. I mean, sometimes we have to make a little redneck like jigs to make stuff work, but everything you need to do for racing we do it out of our garage.
Well, one, that's awesome. Two, I understand what you're saying. You make them do it all, and that is extremely impressive. Even half the things you said would be. But who's actually the brains behind the setup? Like, you can tell not anybody. Changing springs is one thing, but whose idea is it to change the spring? Like you said, you grew up kind of knowing what to change on the car, but who's actually doing, like, I guess, like you just said, you know where to put bars and stuff like that, so really you're the mad scientist.
He will ask us our opinions on it and what we think we should do, and if what we said is completely outrageous and going in the wrong direction, he'll tell us, but he likes to make us think
Find out
about
the
it and
hard
figure
way.
out what we have to do, and then he'll tell us where to go from what our options were, or our ideas were.
I would say, I mean, obviously it's literally just us at the house working on the car.
So
my
just
dad
y'all
is
three, y'all don't have a...
my dad is the brains of the operation, and now after 2 years, I've learned enough. My sister's learned enough. I would say when we make a decision, most of the time it's me and my dad kind of deciding on an idea just because he knows the most about it, and I'm driving the car, obviously, so I have to know what's going on. My sister is more of a, like, we decide the changes and she helps make the changes. She doesn't, I mean, she's learned a lot, but obviously not being the driver, it's kind of hard to know what changes to make.
But you're obviously very much into the sport, like, very into it.
Yeah.
Where does this hopefully lead for you? Do you want to eventually work on them or drive them?
I've never really liked the driving aspect of it, but I do like to work on them. I mean, I'll do everything that needs to be done to Carson's car.
You said
I'm
there's
not
a picture
the
of you
steering wheel
putting the
holder.
motor in the car?
Putting it together.
I've taken it in and out a couple times, but I was by myself, so there's no pictures of that. But there is.
She was by herself.
Yes.
Show the camera. Like, you see where the camera is?
Literally,
Yes.
they would call me on the telephone, and they've got the degree wheel hooked up to the motor to degree the camshaft in. And I'm at work, and I'm working on a car, and I'm talking them and walking them through degreeing their own cam in while they're at home by themselves.
So y'all just kind of knew how to do this kind of stuff since you were at a very young age?
Yeah, I mean, for some reason, as a kid growing up, whenever it was almost like you said with your kids, they don't want to go to sleep when they know something's happening.
No, they don't know what's happening. This
or
is
something's
there.
going on. Yeah. I never wanted to go. I would stay up until like 3:00 as like a 4-year-old kid in the garage just to know, like, because someone was doing something, and I always just watched. And I would fall asleep on the couch in the garage, and Dad would carry me inside like 4 a.m. and put me to bed. But
yeah,
I've always I guess I've been fascinated by it, and I want to know how the cars work. And especially now that I'm a driver, really I think knowing how the cars work is probably at least 50% of. I mean, you have to
Knowing
be
how
a
to drive
talented
and knowing how to
driver,
change
but
them, yeah.
yeah,
Because yeah,
it helps a lot.
This was our garage with like 5 or 6 cars in it, and Carson would normally sleep on that couch right there. But there's actually 2 more in this corner you can't see, and then there's like 2 back there behind that right
It's a big
there.
garage. Yeah, that's nice. Because I've seen y'all help somebody that does a dirt car or dirt modified or something.
Yeah, Jason Sage and Lance
Lance.
Grady.
Lance's car's in that picture.
Yeah, that's what reminded me of it.
Yeah, well, my parents got a divorce. I don't know now, like 3-4 years ago, I guess. But when that happened, my dad stopped doing a lot of the racing stuff, and then when I started back into it, we started building motors and stuff for my car, and then eventually the word got out that we were doing it on our own again. And so some
The
people
flame
like
was fueled again.
yeah, Lance he worked for when my dad owned a auto repair shop. He worked for us, and we've known him since I was born, or my dad's known him since I was born. And so it's like my dad said when we were pulling in here. Actually, Dan Arnold his son drives a dirt modified now. He actually races all up and down the East Coast and pretty big in it now. But my dad helped them a lot, and Dan Arnold lives in this neighborhood somewhere. He said
He can't be, but a couple minutes from here.
Really?
But
What's his name?
Dan Arnold.
He lives in Brandonville? Yeah, I was telling you earlier. I'm like, yeah, I don't know if you've ever been to South. I didn't realize he races Southside, raced everywhere. I don't know y'all that well. So I was like, Southside's only like 2 miles away. Have you ever been to that? He's like, yeah, I've been around it quite a few times.
But yeah, Lance has hung around our place a while, but Lance he never had a lot of money, but his family is big into racing. They do like mudding and all sorts of different racing. And Dan had he has his own construction company. I don't know if he still does or not, but he had nice stuff on his cars, and so whenever they would bend a bar or something, they would take that off and Dan would replace his, and then we would bend the bar back to semi as good as it was before and put it on Lance's. And so he was always on the lower end of the stick.
The
but
leftover stuff.
Yeah, he made it work for a while.
Yeah. Yeah, he owned a construction company. I guess you can call that one. But if it's not him, don't call any other ones other than TKG Construction. And I meant to have his phone number written out on the paper so I could give it out, but I've dropped the bomb. There was breaker strip and it was big, okay? Everybody get off me. And I had Christmas lights, but I don't anymore. All right. Did you want to give your sponsors a shout out? We never finished the favorites anyway. So late
All we had
models.
was late models.
Of the weekly runners at Dominion, it would have to be Doug Barnes, and I got to know him more this year. Just like you said, you never really heard of me until I started winning. But I mean, that's like almost every fan. They don't notice you until you, you could finish third every week, and at a small track, most people wouldn't notice you unless they're looking for you.
Don't make me look bad. You didn't even know the Oldsmobile guy, okay? Because he runs around in the back. You're like, yeah, I don't know him. He's a loser. No, I'm just kidding.
Well,
don't let him hear
he's
that.
got a cool-looking car, so
Yeah.
he gets some attention.
And you still don't know his name.
Yeah.
See?
You gotta be fluent.
You got to be winning. You got to be winning, Carson.
Yeah. I said of the weekly drivers, it's Doug Barnes because I've got to meet him more this year. It's actually funny. The first race that you saw, I think you were at the track when I won my first race. His crew was taking bets on who would win the race, and 90% of them. He has a pretty big crew. And most of them picked Dan Rogers to win, and like one guy picked me to win. And he ended up winning all sorts of money because everyone else betted against me.
The odds were
and
good
so
that week.
it was really funny. I met most of his crew then, and his brother Trent is really cool. But yeah, like they were saying, my sister met Mike Looney's crew doing tires, and we've got to help them sometimes, and they race more Cars Tour and more. I guess Dominion's technically not their home track. I think they said the closest track to where they're from is like 2 hours just for their local track, which I think is South Boston.
Yeah.
He's the one that won the Martinsville race a couple years ago.
Yeah.
Yes.
87 car.
He won the Martinsville race, I think twice actually. He won the
Really?
Martinsville race. I met
He's a
his Billy Martin is the person that owns his car.
Yep, Billy
I
Martin
met
Racing.
Billy's brother Roger in the tire line, and we stood there talking for a while. And then I met Mike and kind of headed off with them, and we helped them for a while. And he did the car store this year, but he came to Dominion once, and he got a second place this year.
Yeah, no, he's impressive. Always.
See, a lot of people come by and they'll just be walking through the pits and they see a 15-year-old girl's got a carburetor tool all apart and she's changing the jets, and they stop and go, look at this. What is she doing? That's the same way we met Mike Looney's crew. She was over there. Morgan handles the tires on race day. She's the tire girl all day long. She handles. She met them in the tire shed.
What do your friends think of this? Are your friends just guys at the racetrack, or do you have regular friends? They're like, what the heck? How does she know how to do all this?
I have some friends outside of the racetrack that kind of look at me funny.
Not in a bad
She
way.
has a
I was
lot
just
of-
curious. It was just like, that would
A lot
blow
of
me
the-
away. You're inspiring. I'm gonna make my daughter listen to this podcast later. But it's just like, I've never heard of this. So this is crazy to me. I've heard of a few instances where obviously girls are getting after it, but usually they're the drivers. You know what I mean? They're just like, they
Yeah.
want to drive. They're never like, I want to work on the cars. So it's just a different side of it.
It is. She has no interest in driving whatsoever.
Yeah, no.
But she loves to build the motors. She loves to work on the carburetors.
Well, yeah.
She's not liking the tire thing a whole lot.
Yeah, well, a lot of times, and then this isn't even, and trust me, I'm sexist, but this isn't even a sexist thing as far as, like, usually the girls don't want to be,
Doing the dirty work, I guess.
not even that, just like, usually when they're there to drive, they're not working on it, they're just driving it. But the reason I say it is because the same could be said for most boys that are your age.
Yeah.
They're just there to drive it. They're not even working on it anymore other than you. That's why it's so cool to see, and especially when it's your sister. It's a family team like this. It's really, really cool. Morgan is my girl, Melissa Power says.
When you get to measuring the same tires like 30 times a day and they all come out to be the wrong size and different every single time you measure them, it's not fun anymore.
That's fun of the game, I guess, or part of the game. Good night, everybody. Going hunting in the morning. Hope y'all have a good night. We're not going to be around that much longer, George. We're about to log out. Stay on. You got to thank your sponsors, too. Who do you want to thank?
Yeah. Well, I'll start off by saying...
Other than your dad and your sister. They're your biggest sponsors, for sure.
Obviously, start out with my dad and my sister, because obviously, as we've talked about throughout the show, that we've all done everything on our own, pretty much. My dad was talking about Owen Smith, who, if he raced weekly at Dominion, he would definitely be my favorite driver there. But like I said, he went into ARCA because of the UNOH school program that I'm going to try to get into. He raced in ARCA, and he actually finished 12th in points this year, just running when he could. But his family has been a big help to me, and since I don't have this car anymore,
Oh, you don't?
Yeah, long story short, the car got taken away from me in a big confusing deal. But Owen, we can't decide what we want to do really for next year. Especially if I go out of state for college, we can run a full season before I would leave for college. But
yeah.
I want to step up and push myself as hard as I can. And I think one big opportunity is since Owen's in ARCA, he still has his late models, and we've been talking to them a lot, and we're really good friends now. I might be able to drive his late model a couple of times next year, and there's a couple other people that I'm seeing if I can just get as much experience as possible, I should say. But yeah, Owen Smith and his whole family. My sponsors from this year, that Alcova Mortgage is the biggest one. Barry Moore actually races the Virginia Racer class at Dominion, and he works for Alcova Mortgage, and they were my biggest help this year. I don't think I could have finished the season just out of my dad's Firestone checks. every
What
week.
about Matco Tools? Are we thanking them, or are they
No.
they part of the
so-
can? That
Yeah,
we're not.
they were part of the.
I would have just blacked that out if I would have
It
known.
was, yeah,
Yep.
no, they were good.
I'll edit that part out. I
They
won't.
were they were with Barry Beebe because he worked for them.
Yeah.
That's how I got. I mean, I still would thank him because I would never have this opportunity to even. I would never be here today. I'd probably
On the
right
biggest
now.
podcast in Virginia.
Yeah, I'd probably we wouldn't even be into racing, honestly.
Well, you kind of would be, but yeah, not
Yeah,
directly like
well,
this.
my dad was done really building motors and everything, and he got me back into it. I don't know if it was a good thing or a bad thing, really. I
That's
kind
for
of
him
like
to
it.
decide
Yeah.
and to regret.
But it's still, he's the main reason that I'm here. But
Amanda and Jeremy.
Zach Rutherford's the kid that was in here. His dad, he owns a IT company, kind of Zugzwang, and he helped me later on in the season to finish out the year, especially when I had to buy 3
What
torque
was that again?
converters. Zugzwang. He does a lot of like online like IT work, kind
Oh
of.
wow, okay.
He's worked all over the place, like California, and they do a lot of stuff for like casinos.
Yeah, I could have used him the first 6 months of this podcast when I couldn't get any of the audio working or any of the wires hooked
yeah,
up.
he knows all about it. But yeah, when he was a big help when I needed to find a whole bunch of money to buy 3 $500 torque converters, because the only time I've ever been DQ'd in my life, my torque converter was too small, this is a whole different thing in and of itself, because we ordered the right size.
When
And,
tag Chris Steffi.
Now Steffi was really cool about it, but he didn't cut us a break. We ordered the right size, which our rule was 11 inches, I think, and we never checked it. We were in a rush to get it because we noticed that there was like metal in the one that I had before, and so we got it like 2 days before the race and just put it in there. Obviously, you don't measure something when you first buy it, really.
No.
Not something like a torque converter. And then they checked it with a coat hanger to see how wide it was, and it was only like
4
10
inches.
3/4. So then I got DQ'd. I had to buy another one, and we bought it. And I even like called like Summers where I bought it from, and like made sure that I was buying the right one. Asked them, and basically they told me that they didn't even know. It was just luck of the draw, which didn't make any sense to me.
It's pretty unluck of a draw for me over on this end, fellas.
Yeah, but
Draw better. You know what I mean? Like, measure it before you send it
well,
out.
that's what
You
I
never
said.
said
I
that.
called them on the phone and said, "Can you just like, I mean, I know exactly which one I want. Why can't you just like open the box and just check it real quick?" And they said they're not allowed to open anything that they have in their warehouse before it's shipped. And I was like, I mean, like,
Oh, this dude.
I
Yeah.
don't know. I can pay
Where's
for
their
it
warehouse?
already. Yeah.
I'll be going down there.
The real funny part about that whole deal was he finished second and disqualified him because the torque converter was a 1/4 inch too small.
And his
We
best
put
lap
the
time was
11
probably
inch
10th off.
torque converter in there, and he won the next 3 races.
Really?
Yes.
Dang.
I get kind of little fire, I guess, but it.
The late model guys are shaking in their boots. I'm thinking they should be. Especially if, like I said, it's already clicked now and you're on a roll. So I can't imagine. I do have one more question for you. Where did you get the number 46? Is that your old number?
Nope.
No, it was actually it was pretty random, but I picked that when I played football and basketball as a kid and just stuck with it the whole time. I couldn't really tell you. There was no one that I liked that was number 46 or anything growing up. It just
I can't even remember a 46
it was,
car.
It was just a random. It wasn't even racing.
Travis Voppel or whatever a couple years ago. I think he was 46 or something.
It was just a random number that I picked, and I guess I just stuck with it. But yeah, that's how I got it. I like I run the number if I could. I'd run the number 3 sometimes because Dad was a huge Dale Earnhardt fan.
Cole
And that's
Trickle was
our always,
46. Yeah. You a Days of Thunder fan? You've seen that movie, right?
Yeah, I've seen it. I haven't seen it in
I
a
was
while.
gonna have to beat him.
Kind of need to watch it again, but
What about 3 and Dale?
yeah, that's what my dad is a huge Dale Earnhardt fan. Like 10
That's
years
what
ago.
the number I went to the racetrack wanting when I first started, because I was
3.
a big Dale Earnhardt fan, and there was already a car that had the 3, so I went with number 4, and I stayed number 4.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Okay, well,
like-
that's pretty cool.
Like 10 years ago, we had when they owned the auto repair shop, we had a vending machine that had a picture of Dale Earnhardt on it, and before my dad started growing out his full-on beard, when he just had a little mustache, he looked exactly like Dale Earnhardt, like
Really?
10 years ago.
That's awesome. Yeah, you do kind of look like him, actually.
Um,
That's pretty cool. Did
But
you
yeah.
ever did you ever go up to the RIR and do like the impersonator and you wear a suit and stuff like that?
I actually worked for Halnita Motorsports for about a year, and I'd go to pits. Like, people would stop and look at me.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
When he was all in his suit and he had like the sunglasses on, it really outdid the
Some
look.
gargoyles.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? Real old school.
But yeah, I don't have any other big sponsors. I mean, there's a million people I could think. My dad's whole family in Maryland, they all know about race cars. Especially his brother, my uncle Derek, has helped a lot. I don't know if I could take all of his suggestions because he works on dirt cars where they make a spring change and he's like, yeah, just change it from a 250 to a 600.
Yeah, they go
and
crazy.
yeah, which only changes a little bit on their cars. Their cars are a lot more forgiving.
When the track
I'm like-
continuously changes for them.
Yeah, and I'm like, I agree with the change, but maybe like a 50-pound change.
Yeah,
would
yeah.
work better.
You only do 300.
I agree. Yeah, I agree with which way we're going here, but
But that comes with experience too, because when he run his first races, I could take the right rear, I could take the 125 out of the right rear and put a 600, and he would never know no difference. He drove the
Yeah,
same.
because he wasn't really pushing the car to the
But
full potential.
somewhere through the beginning of last season, he started to feel the difference of one turn
Yeah.
in the jack screw. He could tell the difference.
Well, when you're on the edge, that's all it makes. You know what I mean? That's what
I think
saying,
that's another thing that it's actually funny if you look on the above the window where people's names is. My middle name is a nickname Loopy that I got for my first year racing because that I wasn't scared to find the limit, but to find the limit I spun out a lot of times my
So
first
you were
year.
the fidget spinner. David Blankenship already had that one, so you had to take Loopy.
Yeah, Loopy is what I got.
Did you get the name? Because you were into racing. Is that why your name is Carson?
It has a little to do with
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Really?
Yep.
Almost.
I almost
It
named
really
my
does.
son Carson because you're like, Carson? That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think my mom saw it in a movie and really liked it, but my dad agreed with it. A little play on words, but yeah, I don't have any.
And if you would have been born first, it would have been Car Daughter. That would have been your name.
be a unique one.
Yeah.
It's good he came first.
Yeah. Thank God. All right, buddy. Well, I think that's all I got. You don't have any other shout outs you want to give or anything like that?
Yeah, no, there's a whole million people I could shout out, like Lance Grady and his family. Tommy Smith. I mean, he's part of Owen's family. All of the Smiths. Really, everybody at the racetrack, especially my first year. This is my second year racing ever, but my first year, everybody in the Dominion Stock Division helped out. Gary Burke, literally everybody in the division helped me. Like Melissa, I think she's here. Richard has always been really cool with me. Bobby, Curtis, everyone in the division has helped me get to where I'm at. But
Shout out to Vanessa, too. And what's up, Mike Rudy? All right, buddy. Well, thank you again for coming out and making the drive. Thank you, Frankie. I really appreciate it. Thank you. You're awesome. Keep doing what you're doing. If you were
Thank you
closer,
for
I'd get
having
you a
us.
job here. What?
Thank you for having
Oh,
us.
no problem. Y'all can come back anytime. Once y'all win the championship next year in the late models or Dominion Stock, whatever you end up in, you're more than welcome back anytime. Or if you ever get a new sponsor and you want to promo something, or if some drama happens, you want to tell your side of that, you know what to do. Like I said, I never mind when you hit me up. Now that you've been on the show, especially, like I said, if you're just a random person, don't be hitting me up. Like, can I come on the show? Like I said, you got to be high real estate like Carson here. What's up, Davey? But yeah, if you get the championship or
He's
wanting to
another one.
talk
Think
about
it.
something,
He's cool.
Davey Callahan, yeah, he's really cool. He's
Yeah.
been on the show a couple times. But yeah, super legit, dude. But yeah, if you ever want to come back on, just let me know. Shoot me a message. And yeah, thanks for coming out, making the drive all the way from Beaver Dam. Thank you again, Frankie. Morgan, thank you a lot. Like I said, you guys are great. Appreciate it again. Morgan, could you hit that finish button at the bottom right for me? I'm going to send her a paycheck too.